All right, hey there. Welcome to the DFS Build MLB edition. I'm Kevin Roberts, joined with Taylor Smith. We're going to go over this smallish main slate over at DraftKings. The goal, as always, is to help you win. We're going to break down the games, look at the pitching and the stacks, and hopefully point you in the right direction. Taylor definitely did that yesterday. We had one person in our Discord get a $250 win. So hopefully we can keep that going and get some nice plays for you here today. If anything we do here does help you out, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Both those things help us out quite a bit. All right, first game on the docket here. We have the Yankees hosting the Twins. Joe Ryan going up against New York. Doesn't sound good in that park. And Cam Schlittler taking on the Twins. Obviously, it's just a really fun park to attack offenses. Like, I don't really like going up against Joe Ryan, but I think if people are going to be playing him, and I think you kind of have to have interest in him on this smaller slate, I do have a little bit of interest in the Yankees. And the other side, the Twins, specifically the righties, do look pretty good against Schlittler. So I think I'm all bats here. How about you?
I have a lot of interest in Schlittler because he's 7K and the pitching is kind of thin. Like the aces, we have aces on the slate, but none of them are really in good spots, Joe Ryan being one of them. And Schlittler 7K, the Twins are pretty watered down. The current lineup only strikes out 20.5% of the time, but kind of some small samples in there, some unproven hitters. Schlittler is decent. He's had some control issues, but Minnesota's not a very patient offense either. So, like, for the discount, I think he's a pretty good play. I'm still getting to Ryan a little bit, like about 20% in a multi-entry field or a multi-entry set. He's a good pitcher, one of the better real-life pitchers on the slate. It's just a tough spot. So I'll get to him. I'll get to the Yankees against him, primarily the lefties, Jazz, Rice, Grisham, guys like that, Bellinger, Espos, and always Judge. So I think you can make a case for all four sides of this game. If I had to pick one thing that I like the most, it's probably Schlittler, though.
Yeah, if I had to go pitching, I think, Joe Ryan is a good real-life pitcher. It just feels like a pretty impossible spot to try to get right.
He's just really splitsy. Like, he's really good against righties. His strikeouts tail off against lefties, and the Yankees have 6 of them. So just not really a good spot. And this park, while neutral overall, is really good for left-handed power, and that's kind of what they want to throw at him.
Yeah, the ownership on Ryan right now is coming at like 26%, which to me feels really high for not the most ideal park, certainly not the most ideal matchup. I personally am kind of leaning Yankees, but of course it's not a great matchup for them either. Moving on, we got the Cubs in Toronto facing the Jays. Cade Horton taking on the Blue Jays. They don't strike out at all, and he doesn't have a very good strikeout rate, so not super interested in him. Kevin Gausman taking on the Cubs. The Cubs have been sliding lately, which is even more visible with the Brewers winning every game they play. They do run into a pretty good pitcher here, but the park is okay, and they're still the Cubs. A lot of power, 203 collective ISO, a strikeout rate below 19%. It's just not a good spot for Gausman at all. I usually am kind of interested in him, especially when his price is pretty palatable. He's been around this like 8.5, 8.8 price range, like basically all year. And almost every time I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of into that. Not super into it against the Cubs, though. This is another spot where I'm just looking at the offenses for the most part.
Yeah, I am interested in Gausman. It's kind of similar to the Ryan thing, like far from a perfect spot. And Hunter Brown even, like we'll get to that, but he's not in a good spot either. So you're not really going to be comfortable with whatever you do on the pitching side. And I think Gausman, while volatile, like really volatile, has been good over the last month. His strikeouts are up to like 30%, which would lead the slate if that would be a full season sample. The Cubs, like you said, while good overall, haven't been in great form. So I don't mind rolling the dice on Gausman. I'd rather get to him at 88 than Joe Ryan for 800 more. That's for sure. While I think he's a good play, you can certainly stack Chicago against him. They do have a lot of power. I'm assuming they're good hitters. PCA and Tucker are going to come around before too long. So still like both sides. Gausman, my favorite, followed by the Cubs, but I'm not really getting to Toronto or Horton.
Yeah, I mean, he's also picking up ownership, 23% for Gausman, 156 ISO from the left side. A lot of the power from Chicago does come from the left, so I'm definitely going to leverage that a little bit. Like I said, Ryan and Gausman are good real-life pitchers. They do have upside. I don't hate them in a vacuum. I just think there's just other spots I'm going to be targeting on this slate. Boston and Houston, Walker Buehler, he ain't going to be one of them. He's taking the Astros. He does get a park upgrade, but that's really all that looks good, especially since he has major issues against righties on the year, and they are loaded with righties. Hunter Brown against the Red Sox, not exactly like the dream spot for Hunter Brown either, and he is 10K, but to me, he's the best pitcher on the board just because Boston does have some strikeouts. Not a ton, but you're just running into pretty much every good pitcher on this slate. Their matchup isn't really that great. Like they're facing power or they're facing somebody like an offense with not a lot of strikeouts. That said, we know Brown has a monster ceiling. I think he's kind of in the best spot that we can ask for. I certainly prefer him to over Joe Ryan just because their prices are kind of similar, and I just think he's got a better floor and ceiling. What's his ownership looking like? Pretty chalky, like almost 50%. So if we're interested in kind of leveraging Joe Ryan and Kevin Gausman at half the ownership, absolutely we can consider Boston, especially since Brown has not been super, super reliable lately. Certainly not as reliable as an ace should be. But I still think, given the slate and where we're at, I think Brown looks the best.
Yeah, he's the SP1 overall. I'm going to play him more than anyone else on the pitching side, and it's partially because it's just a weak pitching slate, or the Aces are just in tough spots.
Right.
I'm not sure if Boston is worse than the Yankees or the Cubs, but I do think Brown is the best pitcher among Gausman, Ryan, and Brown. So I'm getting there a lot. I'm going to play him probably north of that field ownership. If it's coming in around 50, I'll probably be over that. He's really the only guy on the slate I think is capable of putting up a ceiling score you have to have, with Gausman being probably right behind him. So, I'm kind of biting the bullet and playing him. I am playing a lot of Buehler as well, probably 15 to 20% because he's 6K. And the one thing he has done pretty well is keep the ball on the ground. And the one thing this Houston offense does is hit the ball on the ground. So there's a path for him to put up some easy innings, kind of skate through. I don't expect more than like 5 innings or like 12 points. So I'm not really playing him for upside. I'm playing him for salary. 6K flat, decent spot. Really don't hate it. And then certainly you can get to the bats in this game. Obviously, Houston would be the more appealing stack with Buehler's volatility. But even then, I think the Astros are at best a secondary option.
Yeah, Buehler's ownership is not out of control at 11%. So it is a value play for sure. It's just a pure price play. I don't hate it for that reason. He's only 6K. I think I would rather get up to Schlittler or find another option, or maybe just pay up at both pitcher spots. It's not really – this isn't a slate where there's a clear 1-2. It's like you could really go a number of different ways. I do favor the Houston side over Buehler. He did have 23 fantasy points in his last game. -3 the game before that. That is just literally the extremes we're looking at with Buehler over the course of the season, and this matchup doesn't really bode well for him. So that's just where I'm at. But price-wise, absolutely, he is in play. Carlos Carrasco takes on the Mets. Godspeed. And on the other side, David Peterson is taking on the Braves. Is Carrasco opening, or is he full starter?
Looks like he's started.
He's full starter. So yeah, good for him. David Peterson, I think in a vacuum, especially with the slate being kind of small, I do have a little bit of interest in him. The Braves obviously do have some power, but they also strike out quite a bit, and they are not at 100% with their lineup in terms of just like pure upside. So he actually looks pretty good. I don't mind him. I'm not really going to play Carlos on the other side. Facing
No, you're not.
No, facing the Mets, and what's his price? I don't even think it matters. It's 5.5. Like if you want to do another value play in the name of Walker Buehler, I guess you could do that. I just don't have any interest. The Mets are good across the board, and he is not.
Yeah, the Mets are, I think, probably the top stack on the slate. Maybe the Dodgers up there with them. Just Carrasco, like obviously well past his prime. He's just eating innings for a Braves team going nowhere. So, maybe he'll have a good start out of nowhere, but don't really expect it. Buehler, now I just got the Astros lineup and Correa's not in it. So I do feel even better about Buehler than I did before. Even more reason not to play Carrasco. I'm also not getting to Peterson. Like, he's not really a guy that's going to have any upside. He strikes out lefties at a decent clip, gets ground balls against everyone, but Atlanta is pretty righty heavy. I think only 2 lefties in the lineup. So not really a spot to be chasing upside with Peterson, in my opinion. I assume he'll get some ownership, but 8,500, he's not even cheap. So not super interested in that. I think the Braves are viable as a leverage stack if Peterson's going to get some ownership. Like I mentioned, righty power is going to look better. So Albies, Sean Murphy, Ozuna, Eli White, if he hits leadoff, pretty good value from the right side. So not a bad stack. Love the Mets, like the Braves, don't like the pitching at all.
Yeah, I think my interest is in the fact that he's 8.5K, and the SP2 options just don't really feel great. So if you don't want to pay all the way up and like go like Brown, Ryan or something, because like we said, everybody kind of has their warts on this slate. That would be where my interest in Peterson is. Like kind of just an okay mid-range SP2 option where we're not really chasing upside with that play, but it's just like hopefully he can just be decent and get us there with the Braves not being, completely 100%. But I hear you on the upside factor for sure. Dodgers in Anaheim taking on the Angels. Shohei Ohtani taking on LA. He will again continue to be limited, I reckon. You're not going to use him at pitch anyways. Oops, pressed something. My bad. And then on the other side, you got the Halos they are facing them, and Kyle Hendricks taking on the Dodgers. So I always like the Halos, with the power coming from the right side in general. But the Dodgers are the offense to play here. Not really interested in the pitching.
Yeah, Ohtani not being hitter eligible is certainly a downgrade for the whole stack, but it also makes them cheaper to stack on aggregate. So, Hendricks reverse split historically. So Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez look pretty good. Still no issue with Muncy and Freeman from the left side. Freeland, if he's in the lineup, is cheap as well. I don't really want to play Conforto, but I guess it's okay. I think this is the kind of slate where you can roll the dice on Ohtani even in 60 pitches, probably at the most. We know he's an elite strikeout pitcher. He's up to like 33%. We know the Angels will strike out 26% against righties. He's 8K, so he's a little more than I would want to pay for a guy throwing 60 pitches. But I think there's a path for him, if everything breaks his way, to get like 15 points. And I think that on this slate might be enough for 8K. So I'm not saying to build around Ohtani. I might have like 10%, but I think he's viable just because he's kind of cheap for his skills. Angels are a fine stack against him. Like they always have a lot of power. Adele, Neto, Trout, Ward, the usual suspects every night, kind of just power hunting with the Angels.
Yeah, I kind of misspoke here because I don't like the price on Ohtani. He's still going to be limited, but I actually do like him a little bit. Like if we're looking at Drew Peterson, if we're looking at guys in bad spots like Joe Ryan, Kevin Gausman, why can't we take a shot on Ohtani? He actually has a top 5 projection for the slate. Even though we know he's going to be limited, he can get out there and whiff like crazy. And the Angels do have strikeouts in their lineup. So I actually don't hate it. Certainly not a guy like I would lock in and get a ton of exposure to, but I do like it a little bit. And yeah, good point with the Dodgers thing. You'd think DK would get it together here at some point. And get like Ohtani viable as a hitter and a pitcher at the same time. That'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think that is kind of interesting. Last game of the night, Tampa Bay against the Athletics in that tiny park. Drew Rasmussen taking on the A's. He looks pretty good if you look at his profile here. Strikeouts dipped considerably against righties, but he's kept the power in check. I still don't trust him in this park. And the A's have a ton of power, and their strikeouts have gone down. And JT Ginn taking on the Rays. It doesn't get much better for him either. This just feels, I think, like based off of strikeouts in general, like at least the way the A's were before. Like right now, they don't project like a great strikeout matchup for this game. But you could chase that a little bit with either side. But it's just the park and the power from both sides here. I just like both offenses. And of course, you know me, I like the A's quite a bit.
Yeah, I love JT Ginn on this slate. Like if you're going cheap with an SP2, I think he's the one. I'm going to be pretty heavily invested in him for 6,800. He's got some strikeout upside, especially against right-handed hitters, as we've seen. Tampa Bay might have 4 or 5 lefties, but most of them are not power hitters. Maybe Josh Lowe is kind of the exception, or Brandon Lau as well. But it's pretty weak lineup overall, even in a hitter-friendly park. Like I think Tampa Bay is a decent secondary stack, starting with the lefties, but I will have a lot more Ginn than anyone else in this game by a lot. Rasmussen, he's good, but he never throws 80 pitches. Like they limit him pretty hard. So I guess you can play him in the name of Ohtani. I just think Ohtani has more upside in his matchup and there's less risk overall. I think this ballpark, like you said, kind of presents additional risk for Rasmussen. So the A's are okay, the Rays are fine, but I'm all about Ginn in this game.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit worried if the Rays do have 5 lefties out there, because Ginn's lefty numbers are pretty brutal. So if he like walks, Rooker or something, and then I'm thinking of Kevin Hero. If he walks one of those righties though, and then the lefty comes up and slams it or something, it could be over pretty quickly. But yeah, he is cheap. There's
but like on a slate with no pitching that you're gonna like, I might as well just take the 6,800 guy and hope that he gets 10 points or something like that.
Right. So with that said, are you thinking it's kind of like a situation where you're probably locking in Hunter Browning as your SP1 and then kind of circulating SP2 like a lot more than usual?
I think if I were playing one lineup, it would be Brown with Ginn. And then that allows you to pay up for bats while also getting in some decent upside on the pitching side. Because I don't really think, Brown plus Ryan, that's a ton of salary. Brown plus Gaussman is a ton of salary. I just think the savings Ginn gives you lets you pay up for the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Mets or whoever, one of these high upside stacks in good spots.
Yeah, that's totally fair, which definitely means, Boston is going to be the best scoring stack on the slate because baseball. But you were all over it yesterday, and honestly, this whole past week you've been pretty on point. So I trust your judgment for sure. Hopefully this helps everybody out a little bit, points you in the right direction. If you want finalized plays, hit up our Discord and Patreon. But if this did help anyway, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back for another video pretty soon. Also, we already have a quick early preview. Well, it's not quick, actually. It's a little bit long. Early preview for Week 1 NFL DFS, and I'll get some preseason content out before the end of the week. All right, thanks for watching, and good luck.